So let's talk about winterproofing my house. I live in an old cabin up here in the mountains, and the first winter up here 7 years ago was definitely a shock. The cold, the rain, the fact I'm living in a house that was an old summer cabin and is not well insulated, and all the things that come with it was quite a surprise, an expensive surprise and a cold surprise. So over the years, I have learned what to do and how to make this house work. And right now we are in fall, and I'm looking at what I need to do here. And as it turns out, I don't need to do too much. I think I've got it pretty much all dialed in at this point. It only took 7 years, but I'm sure I'm going to learn new things as I go along. Every once in a while, I get snow here, maybe once a year, or sometimes it's just snow falling and barely sticking to the ground. Once or twice we've had snow covering the ground for a couple of hours. The highway not far from me, because it's higher in elevation, will get snow that sticks. And about 10 minutes from me, there is an elevation hike, and they will get snow, and sometimes they will get snowed in for multiple days. One thing I learned from a friend of mine who worked for Caltrans, he said that when you buy a house, if you buy a house in a rural area, try to buy a house by the highway, because Caltrans, that's the first place they plow. It's the first place they clean. It's the first place they de-ice, because that's what they're about, are the highways. So I do live very close to the highway. I'm both remote and close to the highway, and I'm really grateful for that advice, because indeed the highways are what's kept taken care of first. So that was lucky. Insofar as my house, I have learned that there are certain parts of the house that are colder and certain parts of the house that are warmer. And this is good information, because over the years I have learned how to mitigate the parts of the house that are colder. My living room is kind of the center of where I spend my time during the winter, and it gets the morning sun, so it starts getting warmed up. So even if it's cold outside, the sun coming up will bring some warmth into the house there first. And since I spend most of my time in the living room, I have closed off the other rooms which are colder. The bedroom, which is directly adjacent to the living room, is very cold, so that door is closed. And then the kitchen and the laundry room and the second bedroom can be quite cold if they're not heated. So I have closed those off with insulated curtains over the years. So basically I'm in one room for most of the day. And that's the room I heat, and that's the room I do most everything in. One of the things I've learned to do is to follow the sun. Like I said, the sun comes up in the living room, which is right next to me here. It comes up right behind me, so it warms that part of the house. As it goes around the house, it will hit the back of the bedroom, the deck. And if it's not a rainy day, or if it's not overcast, I will actually open the door, because although the air is cool, the sun brings in a lot of heat, and that can warm up that back bedroom. So I'll keep the door open off the back deck, and the heat comes in. Then the sun goes behind the house and it shines directly into the kitchen, and that warms up the kitchen. So that's a good time for me to be in the kitchen, putting things away, looking at recipes, maybe preparing food. Insulated curtains are really important on the windows and between the doors. Not all my windows have curtains on them, because some windows I want to be able to look out of immediately, and I'm not in those rooms enough that it really matters. I have insulated curtains in both of the bedrooms and in the living room. I know many people recommend putting like bubble wrap or like foil or whatever that is, to silver stuff, to bring in the heat and deflect the cold. I like to look out the window. Sometimes I need to look out the windows. So having insulated curtains is handy for that, because I can open them immediately and see what's going on. And during the day, I open them all together, even if it's cold, because I do love the natural light. Again, I have the insulated curtains between the rooms that I don't use, and that's really helpful too. Furniture placement is key. About a year or two ago, I got a big sofa love seat from a friend of mine, and I put it against the only wall I knew of that would fit it, and that was the side wall of the living room, the long wall, which is very cold. I put it right under the window, and what a difference that has made. Having that sofa there on an uninsulated exterior wall has made a huge difference in keeping that room warm, because a lot of the area where the air was coming in is covered up by a heavy piece of upholstery. Next to it, I have the area where there was a pellet stove. I don't have a pellet stove, but it still has that stonework on it, and that also, together with the sofa, has kept that wall warmer than in the past. I think just having that whole insulating furniture and that stonework there has really helped. It's helped so much I have thought about putting wainscoting in my bedroom, because the bedroom gets very cold too, so at least half the wall has double layers and more warmth. However, speaking of the bedroom, I have found that having the bed next to the wall is not good. I've had my bed next to the wall. Again, it's the same wall as the sofa's on, exterior wall, and that has been really, really cold. The sofa has the back to it and is heavily upholstered, but if it's just you and the bed and the wall, it is very cold, and I've had to rearrange the bedroom to accommodate that. I had my the head of my bed under the window, and it was so darn cold. As soon as I changed the bed, everything got better. And right now, there's only this much space between the bed and the exterior wall where the window is, but it makes a huge difference. So think about where you're putting your beds and how close they are to exterior walls, because that, I've noticed, that made a huge difference in my sleeping comfort. This year I am bringing in weather stripping around the doors. I have not had any. Some of the doors fit better than other of the doors, and I'm in a position where I can do that this year. Each year I do something. So I think that's going to help the bedroom especially. I also have to think about some sort of weather stripping around the windows, which let a lot of cold in and out, and I'm not quite sure what's going to work there. I'm going to have to do some investigation. So far, the investigation I've done is not really workable on my windows. And like I say, I like to have the windows clear so I can see out. And so that's a problem I'm going to have to solve. However, when they did the cabin across the street, I saw what they did with the weather stripping, and it was the best and most appropriate weather stripping for my house. So I'm going to go for that this year. Keeping the house warm also depends on me, on how I dress. I dress warm in the winter. I have a heater, of course, a plug-in heater, radiator, but I've got my sweats on. I've got, flannel shirts. I've got several layers. I've got warm socks. I have Afghans, and let me tell you, if you have an electric throw, that can save you a lot. If you're sitting in one place and you're reading, put that electric throw on, and you will not need to turn the heat on, or you can turn the heat lower and be perfectly comfortable. I had one I got on Amazon a few years ago, and then this year in the spring, Walmart was doing a clearance sale. They have a clearance aisle, and I saw they had some like for a bunch of money off, so I picked a second one up. They are just so great. So that helps too, if you can keep your body warm. I drink a lot of tea. I make a lot of soups and hot food, and that also works to keep me warm and keep me charged up. Finally, I try to keep a cozy atmosphere. I have a little stove that looks like a fireplace, so I'll plug that in sometimes, and it does heat the house, but it also just looks warm and cozy. I tend to light a lot of incense in the evening, which feels cozy to me to have that. Electric candles, just nice low lighting. Lighting is important. And I find if I can create a cozy atmosphere with lighting, with incense, with lanterns, with candles. By the way, I rarely use candles that you have to light. I'm talking about LED candles or battery operated candles and lanterns. It's always fire season here, so I don't use those. But just the whole atmosphere of lower lighting does make for a cozier feel in the house. So those are some of the things I do, both practical and psychological, to make my home feel warmer, cozier, and to actually be warmer and cozier. And they do work, because even though PG&E has been raising rates over the years, my heating bills here in the cabin have gone down, and I'm very comfortable. So that's worth something too, isn't it? Anyway, interested in hearing how you make your house warm and cozy and a good place to be in the winter too. Thank you so much for watching.